I am Elbio Barilari. I am from Uruguay, Montevideo, Uruguay. I moved to Chicago in 1998. For 8 years, I was the editor-in-chief for La Raza newspaper, the main Hispanic paper in Chicago. By 2002, I also started introducing my music to the Chicago audiences. In 2007, I left La Raza and I moved to the academic life as a professor of Latin American music at the UIC. Currently, I am also the artistic director of the Latino Music Festival here in Chicago, celebrating now its 10th anniversary. And I am also the host of the radio program Fiesta on WFMT 98.7. That goes on Saturdays, 6 p.m. That's important. As a composer, I was trained initially in Uruguay. Then I went to study in Brazil. Then I got a scholarship and I studied in Germany for 1 year. And my whole life, I have been a composer and a writer, both. And when the Chicago Sinfonietta approached me about the possibility of writing a piece celebrating Dia de los Muertos, I was very happy because I think Dia de los Muertos is one of the most beautiful and gorgeous and splendid celebrations in Latin America, because I always need to explain that to non-Latino audiences. Dia de los Muertos is not Halloween. There is nothing scary about Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is about celebrating your ancestry, celebrating your family, celebrating beloved people that already passed away. In the Latin American mythology, these people are looking and taking care of you from the other world. Then there is nothing scary about it. It's a day for celebration, meditation, for tenderness, for a tender evocation of that people that were here before of you. And when the Day of the Dead ends, there is a celebration. And people, depending on the country, but in the countries where they do offer food and drink, all the guests, of course, eat and drink the offerings. Then even if you see the sugar skulls, the alfenices that the Mexican do, there is something completely tender, even childish about it. It's not something, or innocent about it. It's not something scary. The Mexican conception of death, for example, is different to the traditional Western conception. And that comes from the Aztecs and the Mayans and other Native Americans, Native Mexicans from before the Spaniards. That's why when I was asked to compose this piece that we call Ofrendas, or offerings, I decided to start with a celebration or a tribute to the Aztec goddess of the underworld, Mictecacihuatl. Because it's not like Satan, is not even like the Greek god of the dead. Is more like a mother. Is more like a goddess that takes care of the souls. And of course, in that movement, in that first part of the piece, we need to try to represent this native pre-Hispanic world. But it's not scary, it's mysterious, it's magical. We are trying to bring back those traditions. The second movement is called Empasuchi. Empasuchi is the Mexican marigold, which is the flower that traditionally you bring to the cemetery, or the flower that you put in the altars in Dia de los Muertos. And again, this is not a funeral movement. It's more poetic and more evocative. It starts with marimba, Mayan marimbas, evoking that world, and from the marimbas starts a beautiful melody, trying to, as a tribute, as a nice tribute to our beloved people that already passed away. And the last movement goes into the party. It's called La Danza de los Alfeniques. That means the dance of the sugar skulls. And if you live in Chicago, you see the little puppets made out of sugar that they sell in the Mexican places for Dia de los Muertos. Well, imagine those sugar skulls and other beings. All of a sudden they start dancing, and then needs to be whimsical, needs to be playful, needs to be a little awkward. And I use a traditional Mexican rhythm, but I took one beat out of the rhythm to make it a little bit more limping, a little bit more whimsical. The title Ofrendas or offerings comes from the ofrendas or offerings that people bring to the altars in Dia de los Muertos. Everybody built their own altars, whether it's in the house or in a public place, in the churches, in many different places. They built specially these altars, and they put offerings. They put objects that the deceased person loved: books, flowers, food, toys, a soccer ball, whatever that person loved, plus food and drink, of course, because you need to feed them. And there is another part of this offering, which is that we are offering this piece to the memory of Maestro Freeman. I saw Maestro Freeman many times conducting. I only talked to him once or twice. He was very nice, and we had a nice, short, interesting conversation. But I didn't get to really know him, which I think was a pity, because he had a lot to teach and a lot of experiences to share. When Maestro Andres Franco, who is going to conduct this concert, came with this idea that my piece should be dedicated to Maestro Freeman, I was very happy about it, and I said yes immediately. Not just because he was a great conductor and musician, it's because his role as a leader, as a leader of his community, as a cultural leader. In some ways, I am also in that position, trying to promote the music of my community, trying to build bridges between musical bridges and cultural bridges between my community, the Hispanic community or Latino community, and the mainstream. In the Chicago Sinfonietta, Maestro Freeman have been leading that process for so many years in Chicago. And then having the opportunity to dedicate or to offer this piece to Maestro Freeman, performed, premiered, world premiere made by his orchestra, I think is a great occasion and a huge motive of joy for me.